Councilmember Henderson?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Councilmember Slater?
No.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Daniels?
Yes.
Motion fails.
Motion fails. So, do we now vote on A, or do we just move on to the next issue and we...
There was an amendment placed on the table that was moved, but it was not seconded by Councilmember Fleming.
The amendment?
The amendment did not have a second, so you
Okay.
would need a second to vote
Do
on
we
it.
have a second for Councilmember Fleming's amendment? Motion fails as a result of no support. We're going to move on now. It's public comments again.
No.
Excuse me.
I'm going to move Resolution I-6A.
Yes. I didn't hear any call for discussion. I said that the motion failed as a result of no second. Isn't that the parliamentary procedure?
That is correct, Mayor, in that particular Councilman Fleming's motion as made did not pass because there is no call for that. However, if somebody were inclined to offer another resolution before moving on, then there is that opportunity.
Okay. Councilmember Slater?
Okay. I'm going to move I-6A as printed. And I'm doing that to bring it to the table so we can have a discussion on A, okay? We had a discussion on B, Mayor, so I think it's nice that we could have a discussion on A if that's okay.
Okay, that's fine.
So I'm going to move I-6A.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Councilman Slater, seconded by Councilmember Campbell. The motion to approve the MDOT subcontract for the final design of the Troy Multimodal Transit Center facility. Any discussion?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Henderson?
kind of got shut out on that last ordeal. I just want to say that, there have been comments about, us doing our homework and this, that, and the other thing. I have a stack at home. I would have brought it tonight had I been able to carry more than 5 pounds by doctor's orders. Literally is this much material, and I've poured through it over the last 5 weeks. And it's not interesting material, but it's important material. And it includes information about light rail, high-speed rail, bus transportation, bicycle rentals in Troy, which, there's a lot of facets to this. And anybody that thinks that we're not taking this entirely seriously and only being partisan, I guess they don't take us seriously in general. So I want to get that out of the way. That's not how I approach this position. I also want to note that this map that was given to us, I would be, Mr. Murish made a point that, maybe there's an option C. I'm 100% behind an option C. Option C just isn't in front of us right now. There is only one option, $8.5 million of federal money that the feds don't have to build a train station at a location that's underutilized right now. And that is not a good option for me. I don't care how you shake it. To look at this map, it shows bus transportation, and it shows a little dot right there by the current train station. And, my thoughts are move that 1.5 miles to the north and to the east of that location where it would service the 16-mile corridor and maybe the Rochester corridor. And, I could probably support something like that. And it could be done at a fraction of the cost of this $8.5 million. And that's something that I could probably get behind in the future, but not now when we don't have, the funding is just not there. We as people are struggling. That's one of the reasons I got involved in this city council run. My family has suffered financially. Other families in the community have suffered financially, and as a nation we're suffering financially. To just haphazardly spend a bunch of money because stimulus packages are freely given to anybody that wants it is just a silly proposition to me.
Thank you. Discussion? Councilman Fleming?
Mayor, I'm still looking for this compromise on this Resolution A that Councilman Slater has proposed. And again, I would offer an amendment, but I'm going to need some help with the language on that, to add a line. I would vote on this if we could add a line, I need some help from the attorney on this to make sure it's legal, that we would cap, this council's capping the expenditure at $5 million for this project. Then I can support it and will support it. But as it is, it's going to fail. I've spent considerable time looking at this, studying it, and I've just seen this cost creep, and I don't want to, and I think there's a value we have to associate to this project, and to me, based on the research and the people I've talked with and discussions with professionals in the industry, $5 million is basically my limit on this project. I'd like to see it proceed. I'm offering a compromise. I'm hoping we can get that tonight, but I need some help with the language. And offer an amendment.
Manager Zerling.
Thank you. Earlier, the same question was asked, and I mentioned that I thought a construction manager at risk through the architect could be advised of a project budget as part of this resolution, whatever that number that the majority would agree upon. But I'd like verification of that from the people that know more about this project than I do. And so my question to staff and the proposed consultants is that if a resolution was passed accepting the grant, I mean, the grant was given to us for $8.485 million, accepting that grant, but with the caveat or the calibration that the architect is advised or construction manager at risk is advised that the project budget is $5 million, would that be, is that something that you could come up with in terms of a project budget? That question essentially.
Thank you.
And Steve, please introduce these folks.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Steve Van Dett, City Engineer. To my right.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Mike Kirk, I'm a principal with Newman Smith Architects in Southfield.
I'm Wally Alex with the company Hubble Roth and Clark.
And Bill Hootery, I'm the Deputy City Engineer.
I got a little bit cold tonight. First of all, the construction manager at risk is just that. The construction manager must set a guaranteed maximum price, and the guaranteed maximum price has to be within the budget that we set. The question is, can we do this project with all the functionality for which it was approved for federal funds at $5 million? And I would like Mike Kirk from Newman Smith Architects to address that question.
I think the central issue about dealing with the change in project costs from $8.485 million to $5 million, which is about a 41% decrease, is the effect that that has on the concept of a project. As you get over 10%, you begin to change the concept of a project. When you're approaching a number like this at 40%, there would be a major change in the project, obviously. The difficulty with this type of project is there are certain requirements by the railroad, by the Federal Rail Administration, by Amtrak, and by MDOT that will require us to construct the platforms, the bridge, and the elevator and stairways to get up and over the tracks in a certain fashion, which are going to have a set amount of money to accomplish that. So for the most part, the deduction you're discussing would have to be taken out of the station building itself and the site on the Troy side, which is a fairly small part of the overall $8.5 million. So what that means is that it's a very drastic idea. I don't think you'd have a station building in the form that you currently conceive it in any way, shape, and form if you took it to a $5 million cap.
Thank you. Discussion? Councilman Teets?
A question, what changes would that include when you say you'd have to there would be significant changes taking it to a $5 million cap? Does that mean, what does that mean exactly? Can you give me an example, for instance?
Well, we were just approached with this number a short while ago, so I haven't had a chance to analyze the numbers, but the the estimate that was done previously had numbers like $1,094,000 in the pedestrian bridge and stairway cost, and $600,000 in the elevator buildings getting up to that area, an additional $550,000 for the platform construction. So those numbers alone, about $2.3 million, and then in addition to that, we have the utility relocation costs of $201,000 and the CN permitting fees at $140,000. The issue is that by the time you take those into account and do some minor landscaping and site work, new paving on the site, there may not be enough money to actually construct a station building to attach to the stairway and elevator tower going over the railroad.
Could someone here address that issue about that intersection and the narrow roads and the difficult turn that there is even now without all the buses and et cetera, traffic? Could anyone address that?
Realistically, I mean, most of the buses we anticipate will come in off of Maple to Doyle. I mean, it's a signalized intersection to come in and loop back out. The site is set up for 4 buses. There's the bus slips on both sides of Doyle. We don't expect buses to be out on Coolidge wholesale trying to make the turnarounds. North of Maple, it's very tight, even for a vehicle to cross back over. South of Maple, where we've done the project in the past with the Grand Saukwa development several years ago, that is a wider section. There are some wider areas that could accommodate a bus much better than north. Buses north of Maple trying to cross over, yeah, it'd be near impossible.
Well, Maple Road itself is quite
It's
narrow.
a 5-lane road, so there's a
A lot of traffic back up there already.
I know, but there are things we can do with the county, with the traffic signal to try and improve the timing, those types of things at those signals. It's all in the SCAT system, so it is something that we can work with Road Commission to try and have some dedicated time.
What kind of a cost are we looking at?
Traffic signal optimization they can do it on the fly. It's done on their TOC and
So you
Waterford.
think just traffic signal optimization is going to
the environmental, there was
alleviate the traffic
the traffic impact study that was done looked at future traffic volumes. Without the transit center, there are still operational deficiencies in that area.
Mm-hmm.
With the transit center, there's still operational deficiencies. In either case, whether you build it or don't build it, there's still issues there in 2025.
Thank you. Councilman Slater?
If we can't negotiate a compromise here, this is going to fail, because we need 4 votes, okay? And I think Councilman Fleming has indicated he's not going to vote for 8.4. So can you give me something that I understand where Councilman Fleming, and I agree with him that we want to keep the cost as low as we possibly can, but if we can't build it, if it can't be built, then there's no sense even discussing this. We're going to lose the project if we don't vote tonight. Right now we have 3.5 votes. Okay, so I'm looking for a compromise.
Mayor and Council, previously I prepared a report, and in that report there were 2 cost estimates. One was the original estimate, one was a revised estimate. And that revised estimate, what I did is in consultation with our consultants, is we eliminated the green roof, we eliminated geothermal heating and cooling, we eliminated harvested rainwater reuse system, electrical vehicle charging station, and the LEED certification for the building. And we also decreased the landscaping and the building cost by 10%, which is a significant amount. But what that did, the net effect of all that, is that it brought the overall total cost down to 7.8 $7.8 million. And that is a cost that, while it is approximately $600,000 less than the original estimate, I think it's a reasonable cost for which we could work from, and we could come out of this with a station that has all the functionality that what it was intended to have and what formed the basis of our application to the federal government for these funds. I hope that answers your question.
7.88?
7.88.
So in other words,
I might add that includes a contingency of approximately $791,000. That is a contingency for unplanned and unforeseen expenses. It is not to be used for general construction purposes. So in other words, these utilities that have to be relocated, and they're estimated at $201,000, there may be some conflicts when they come in to do that relocation. It may increase that cost. There may be some underground unknowns that might increase the cost. That is what the contingency is for. It is not for general construction purposes. It's for unforeseen and unplanned expenditures through the project.
So you're at
Manager Zerlich?
I'm sorry.
So you're at $7 million then, basically, on construction?
Without using any of the contingency, yes.
Could I ask the
Zerlich?
city
Oh, I'm
attorney?
sorry, go
Could I
ahead.
ask the city attorney a question?
Yes. Attorney Bloom?
If we pass A with an amendment giving instructions to the person that oversees this project at a certain limit, we could go back and amend that, I would assume, right? The 8.4 is available from the federal government. We're telling them to cap it at, let's say, 7 or 6. We could go back and change that, though, I would assume. Is that?
This would be given, this resolution, whatever resolution it is that you pass, will be given to the federal government. I don't know if they will, based on the resolution, I don't know, again, what the resolution is going to say, the final form of it, but I don't know if, I can't guarantee that they won't just say that there's this much money available and then reassign the rest of it. I don't know that. I don't know if I know Mr. Van Dett has been in communication with them. Maybe he has a better answer to that.
Well, I think their first concern is whether or not we can actually do it for that amount, and they would want us to demonstrate that it is reasonably possible that we could do it for that amount. If we do, in fact, go forward with the project and we end up spending approximately $700,000 and don't use any of the contingency, then that monies would be unused, and that would be under MDOT control and FRA to use how they see fit. But that would be the contract that we have is for the full amount of approximately $8.5 million, and to the extent that we can build it for less, we want to build it for less. We want to build it as efficiently, as cheaply as possible, and still maintain the functionality, and that would, I think, be the FRA's goal as well. But as I said, the first thing that they would want us to do is to demonstrate that it would be reasonably possible that we could do it for that amount.
Councilman Teets?
Yeah, I kind of see the conversation going towards Mr. Slater, or Councilman Slater, suggesting that we go ahead and approve the 8.5 and then internally hold it to 5 million. Therefore, this is no compromise. It's just optimism that we, in fact, are saying, yeah, it should be nice to keep this cheap. And we can internally say it would be nice to keep it cheap, but let's not delude ourselves by calling it compromise, because it is approving the project without any ifs, ands, or buts, just internally saying, let's do it as cheaply as possible. Now, I think we all agree that it'd be nice to keep it cheaply as possible, but we're not addressing the underlying concerns, and I think if we look at the things that have been included, the elevators, the bridge, so forth, and I think some immediate concerns you gentlemen have had about how we could construct it all for $5 million. Calling it a compromise is anything but. It's just saying we want to do it cheaply, and I guess I scratch my head.
I thought I heard you say that it would compromise the project if we tried to cap it at $5 million. Isn't that what you said, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. Can we have a vote on the amendment to...
It's more discussion.
We're going to have more discussion. Councilman Fleming?
You've had very little time to look at this, but because of the Open Meetings Act and so forth, we can't have discussions outside of this meeting and bring things in. But I've been struggling with this. I'd like to see the transit center, but based on discussions I've had with people, and I'm not an expert in the area, and I know it wouldn't look like the transit center you have on the artist rendering today, but I believe you can design a transit center. My belief won't have everything you've got today that will accommodate traffic and the bus terminal, which I think it may end up being more of a bus terminal than train, I hope not, for $5 million. But you haven't had a really good chance to look at it. And my question is, if we put that caveat in there tonight with a $5 million limit, if you come back and you can't do it, then we don't proceed. If you come back and we can do it for $5 million and you do the due diligence on that, then we proceed with the project. But we need that amendment in here tonight.
Manager Zerle.
Thank you. Just as a point of clarification for all of us.
Yes.
A project has more than just the labor material costs involved to it. There's the contingency cost that was mentioned earlier. There's the architectural engineering fee that you have, which I think is probably a percentage of the total project cost. It would go down if the project was smaller. And then there's also the construction manager at risk cost as well. So are we talking about essentially a $5 million project for the labor material, for the actual construction, the $5 million construction cost? Is that what just for clarification, is that what I'm hearing?
No. It's $5 million total cost that we would be spending out of the federal funds, period.
So that would then include the construction manager at risk as well? And what's that cost?
That's how I understood it as well, that it would be $5 million total, including construction manager and architectural engineering. And in my professional opinion, I would agree with our architect here that a $5 million total cost of the project is unrealistic, that we could achieve what we need to achieve and still obtain federal funding for this project.
Well, you got us by...
Well, should we have
If
a
we don't
vote?
compromise, we're going to lose it anyways. I mean, it's just, I don't know what to say here.
We need
We
to
cap it at
vote,
7, will you
Councilman Slater.
compromise to cap it at $7.3 million with part of that being a contingency, to give them an opportunity to get to the $7 million, which I think is what they really need.
Councilman
I would,
Fleming?
I would offer that.
I'm in a compromising mood, but this is it. This is it. I mean, I said $5 billion. I come to the meeting with 5, and I've been told we can do it for 5. But I will go higher if we can ensure that that includes all the architectural fees, all the project management, and so forth. A stretch, and this is being very generous, at 6. This project has creeped and creeped. I remember talking about a $2 million project. This was years ago. This is just taking on a life. It's on. Now we get the money, so let's see how we can spend it. That's the way I feel that this project's gone. We get more money, let's spend more money. I'm looking to cut it back, to really curb it back, and not just spend money because we have it available, because it's not free. I'm not against taking federal money, but that money is not free. We're in trouble. I'm wanting to do diligence, and do the right thing, what's best for Troy. And compromise, I know the businesses want it, some of the residents do, some don't. But I'm looking at it right now tonight as the deciding vote. And I'm willing to go now to $6 million. That's it.
Madam Mayor.
And that's a huge compromise.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Teets.
I believe if I sit at this table long enough, we'll get to 7.88. So let's take 15 minutes and just kind of wait, because there are larger issues than just the construction costs. This project, the ongoing expense of this project, I think we're ignoring the larger issues. Just a moment ago, we talked a bit about how it would be more of a bus terminal than a train terminal. The only problem is there are 0 buses that run through Troy from the smart lines from 6 p.m. Friday to 6 a.m. Monday. And that's because of recent cuts from the smart folks. Also, they've eliminated all the dial ride services here in Troy. You know, it's going to be it could be a bus stand, but it's going to be an empty bus stand every weekend. And it certainly could be a railroad station, but these gentlemen are saying that we can't afford to do a railroad station at $5 million. Perhaps they're going to come back in a moment and say they could do it $6 million. But let's be clear about the expenses. No private sector business has come forward and said, yeah, we're willing to pony up with $5,000 a year. We've made a commitment to do this. And that says a lot about where my head's at. You know, a bookie would say, what's the over-under? And I don't think the bookie would pick $30,000 as the over-under number. I think they'd go a lot higher than that. And I think this is the issue that is beyond the construction cost, because we're going to be talking about this for the remaining, 3 years and 11 months that I'm on city council. And I'm more concerned about the ongoing expenses that we will have to face for year after year after year. And when I've been told repeatedly that we don't have money for things like a 7-day-a-week library, where we're struggling and we can't seem to find money for the police officers, as I've been told by folks, this is an issue that affects more than just one-time construction. This is an issue that affects how we view budgeting in this city, and I think that's my concern. And if we're going to make it an issue of $6 million versus 7.5, you know, that's fine, but I don't see how those numbers change the overall effect this will have on our city going forward. My wife's a CPA, and I should have asked her at this point. In fact, somebody else brought it up. The replacement costs and the depreciation costs, I don't think we're including the expenses, but anyone will tell you that's part of the expense of having a building. And I think these are things that have not been considered, and regardless of if it's 7.5 and 6 or 5 or 5.5 or whatever the number is, this isn't helping. I just don't see how this debate makes any sense.
Have we got an answer on the $6 million? So we can move along here.
I would like to say that we're incredibly creative, which we are, and we're always going to try and do the absolute best with the funds we have available. The difficulty with a project like this, and I'm really not trying to avoid the issue, I sincerely want to address your concerns, Councilman, is that over half of the project is tied up with very specific requirements related to the railroad, which we are not going to have a whole lot of control over. We have to get the passengers over the track. We have to respect the American with Disabilities Act and provide elevators to allow everyone to get up on the bridge and over the top. And we have certain parameters that have to be designed into the train platforms. So when we go to value engineer the project, many items within that project budget are not able to be value engineered equally. So whatever goal you give us, we will do our very best to try and work with it. My concern is, as I mentioned before, that we may not end up with a building on the Troy side due to all of these parameters. And I don't know how else to explain it. Again, as Councilman's mentioned, we have not had much time to study it, and maybe after some study we could give you a clear indication. I'm just trying to give you a percentage response. When we reduce the budget 40%, and that 40% needs to come out of about 30 to 40% of the overall cost, you have a very strong impact on that area of the project.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
I have another concern, too, about the late-breaking change of events here that we're discussing, and that is if we're at the point where we haven't spent this money, but we're going to approve a contract to hire people to begin the next stages of the planning, which at this point in the discussion sounds like possible revamping. So I'm assuming we're asking for continued assistance from staff, that we'd be approving a contract tonight that would then bind us to the companies that we're going to approve the contract to do work for us. We're then asking them to do the work for us and incurring a cost, and they could come back to us and say, well, we can build something for $6 million or whatever we've bound them to, but it's not going to satisfy the federal government's requirements to get the grant. So then we've spent money out of our own pocket that we wouldn't qualify for reimbursement from the federal government. So I think that I have a big concern with that issue, not because I don't want to make sure that we're being as conservative as we can in our budgeting, and not because I'm against cutting it down to bare bones, which I think that they've done with this revised budget that you provided to us. I mean, you're basically talking about things that it seems like to me we don't really have any control over changing the cost on when it pertains to the railroads and when it pertains to some of the things that are required by the federal government to receive the grant. So I would just be very concerned about picking a number here at the council table because we want to come to a compromise, which I would really like to do, and then hiring somebody to do the work and potentially coming back to us and saying that it's not going to work. And then I'm assuming that means we're on the hook to pay for that opinion. And so I think that if there is a way to, by resolution, provide direction, and I think that someone earlier, I don't remember if it was City Manager Zerlag or someone else from staff, saying that we can provide direction through a resolution that we'd like you to give us a plan for this amount and for another amount and go from there. But I think by capping it at a number, which I think by agreement here, no one is going to say that we really can feel very sure about at this point, I would be concerned about doing that, because if it doesn't meet the requirements that the federal government's giving us to get the money in the first place, then I think we'd be on the hook for all that work. So I would feel more comfortable personally allowing it if it's going to be a number here that coincides with this revised budget that gives us a total project cost of $7.881, taking into account that we've got a 15% contingency in there that we're not actually planning on spending to build this, and then going from there. I think that's really the only thing that we can feel comfortable doing, and hiring a company to start doing work for us.
Councilman Slater?
I agree with that. The problem I have is, can we get 4 votes to agree to that? So I think what I'm hearing here is the project has to die. If we can't come up with 7.88 as a, and with the contingency amount in there. Because I agree, we don't want to invoke the contract, then have you go out and charge the city money and tell us you can't do it. That doesn't make any sense. So either we pass the resolution as it is and have internal audits continually to assure that we're meeting what Councilman Fleming wants to have done, short of putting a cap at 7.88, I don't know where else to go.
Councilman Fleming, did you have your final remarks?
Yeah, I'm just disappointed because I've started with 5 and really stretched to 6, and if we can't get there, then I'll be voting against this. If we can't amend it, I will not be voting for 7.881. I mean, I just think this project's had creep all along, and the cost has gone up, and I think it has not been value engineered properly. You haven't had a chance to do it. And to say you can't do it now and you can't hit a $5 million or you can't hit a $6 million, and we have to stay with the 7.881, which is just some minor changes, I can't support that, won't support it.
So can we have managers or like?
Just a question either for Wally or the architect. And I forgot your name, sir, I'm sorry. There's certain elements that we have to have. We have to have a bridge, you have to have an elevator, you have to have a platform, you have to have a transit center, you have to have parking, you have to have site work, you have to have utility relocation. In terms of those elements, with the exception of utility relocation, is there a certain standard that you adhere to that could be more Spartan for those elements to bring the cost down? In other words, if you estimated an elevator to cost $600,000, is there a $400,000 elevator out there? If you estimated a bridge to be, $1 million, is there a $700,000 bridge out there? I think that's what Mr. Fleming is talking about, not necessarily to scale down on the required elements, but to determine how Spartan this project is. Is that a correct assessment?
I think it hasn't been value engineered. We've not had architects really study it in detail, and I think as a result of that, with the project cost has continued just to escalate, we've got the money, so we're going to spend it, and I'm just not in favor of that.
I guess to respond to City Manager Zerleg's point, we can certainly value engineer the items, and my difficulty in responding is I have to respond to your charge of hitting $6 million as a cap. That's not a goal. You're not telling us shoot for that. You're saying everything in. And my concern is when we do all of the things that are being discussed, I don't think we're going to get down to that $6 million. I think maybe we have a shot of getting in the mid-sevens, and if you took the contingency out, we might get below $7 million when everything was said and done. But to put the cap on $6 million, which becomes a contractual obligation for us. I've been through many projects and done a considerable amount of value engineering, and when you're taking that scale of cost out of a project, it's very, very difficult. I think I could tell you, you might not have toilet rooms, you might not really have a building on the Troy side. We may just have an area to walk into as the entry to the stair and bridge tower to get over the tracks, and then redevelopment of the site and the bus drop-off, etc. If the federal government would agree to that, that's something we could pursue with you, but as Councilwoman McGinnis brought up, I don't know at this point if the federal government would accept those changes. So I may not be saying a whole lot, but I'm trying to be very studied in my response and let you know what I think is possible. I think if you gave us a charge of, and I'm no better at putting this number out right now than you are, Councilman Fleming, but if I said $7.5 million and we had a $700,000 contingency that if we didn't use any of it, we would get the project accomplished at 6.8, I think we are in the realm of possibility. Getting to the $6 million, I just, as a professional right now, I don't know that I can hit that number for you. We may discover things that could get us there, but you've got to make a vote tonight, and I don't have enough information to give you that.
Councilman Fleming?
Thank you so much. The other concern I have, and it was alluded to in our package, the $1.3 million earmark, which I said we're not using that either, may need to be used to settle the land. We know that can be used if necessary, and we haven't even talked about that, but we've got a situation where the land is still under appeal. We may have to pay for the land, and I haven't even considered that in this number, so that it just puts us over the top. I have just too many concerns now. If you can't hit a $6 million, which I think is over the top, and then we still have the issue of what do we do if we don't win the appeal on the land? That's just, then we've got another, whatever, $1 million, $1.3 million that would have to come out of this project as well. Okay.
Yeah, I know that tonight's supposed to be the last night, and for good reason, it should be the last night. We'd be way behind schedule as we start into this project starting today instead of a month ago. What if we were to offer to value engineer this on our own cost and try to get back to you in a time certain that would try to determine if we can get down to a $7 million cost or $6 million cost?
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Teets?
I appreciate your expertise, but it's for the city council to guide the discussion. I appreciate your suggestion and so forth. At this point, I think we need to call the question. We've discussed this thoroughly.
I agree with that. I would like to call for a vote. Is there anyone else, one final go, if anyone has something they want to add to this? Now, we need to vote on the amendment that was brought forth by Councilman Fleming, seconded by, I'm not sure who seconded it.
There was not a second on the $6 million amendment.
There was no second on the amendment, so...
There's no second on the
There's no
$6 million?
Well, I thought it was $5 million, but...
There was no second on the $5 million amendment either.
Second on the $5 million. Did you want to re-propose your amendment, or should we just vote on the resolution?
Well, I did offer $6 million, but that's not going to go either because they can't.
Right.
So they can't do it for six. So
Can't seem to go, so...
I'm disappointed.
I'm going to offer another one. I'm going to offer an amendment for 7.5 with a contingency of $700,000.
Is there a second? There's no second, so...
I'll support it.
Okay, second by Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis. Discussion? No discussion. Let's have a vote on, I'm sorry, Councilman
Right.
Teets?
Just briefly, to be very brief, we're on our way. If it was at 5 and then 6 and then 7.5, there is a creep, and we're just going right up the scale. So I just see no, either you're for it or you're against it. Let's just vote, and I would just like to call the question right now.
Well, I think Councilman Slater made an amendment, and it was seconded, so we should vote on it. Are you prepared to vote, or did you
This is a
want to
very,
make a comment?
very important issue to the city of Troy, and I don't think we should be cut off from discussing this. I've had hundreds of emails, okay, on this issue. 90%, over 90% of those emails have been in favor of this project, okay? 75% of the people that came here today are in favor of this project, okay? I've gotten several phone calls. I kept track. And I was going to say some things in favor of this project, and I said at the study session, what tipped me over the edge on this project was the business community. I've never, and I've been around the city for 40 years, I've never seen an outpouring, overwhelming outpouring from the business community that wants this project so much. And they pay taxes here. There was a time when they paid 60% of the taxes in this town, and it'd be nice to get that back up to that level again so that the residents go back to 40 instead of 60. And that's how you reduce the millage rate. We need to help the business community. They want this. They think it will benefit them. It's obvious. I have letters from the governor. I have a letter from the Oakland County Business Roundtable Transportation Committee that's in favor of this. I have letters from Oakland County. I have all types of letters. I have zero emails, zero letters from anybody in the business community that does not want this, okay? None. So I don't think we should cut ourselves off, and we shouldn't cut the people off. Let's discuss this and make a good decision. I know you don't want it. I want, if it'll save the project and we can compromise, then I want to talk about it. I think Councilman Fleming wants to talk about it. I know he wants the project, okay? So let's find a way to get the project done by talking about it, not by muzzling us, okay? So I've listened to everybody out there, okay? I've read the same amount that he has. We've done our due diligence. If there's a way that I can get a compromise here, I want to do that tonight, okay? So I listened to the experts. The experts told me we can't do it for 6, okay? I wish there was a way that we could go ahead with this and have them come back to us with the bare bones amount, okay? I wish there was, I don't know if there's a legal way we can do that or not, but I want to see this project go forward. And I think let's do 7.5 with a contingency that'll drop it down to 6.8. That's what I'm hearing from the experts that could work. So I'm talking to Councilman Fleming here that let's not strap the city to the point where we end up having to pay some money here for this project if we don't hit that threshold. So that's why I'm offering the 7.5, and I think we should talk about it a little more.
Councilman Fleming, did you?
7.5, we're just continuing to creep up. As I've seen this project creep from day one, we're continuing to creep up the cost. Now we're back at, from 5 to 6 to 7.5. And I'm just not prepared to do that, Councilman Slater. I appreciate what you're trying to do. And as far as the business community, I am pro-business. I am not against your business. And I think I've proved that time and time again with tax abatements and a number of things. I am pro-business. But you look at what we're doing here, there is no guarantee as to what this transit center is going to do. We're all saying build it and they will come, and I'm tired of hearing that because that's a movement that doesn't work, in real life. I like the theory of a transit center, but when I look at the numbers have been generated. It's very hard to justify from a dollar and cents and a payback standpoint as a business. That's why I've asked you, if we do go forward with this, to even consider helping us with operating expenses. And I can't, that's just an option. You would have to help. I don't know if you can or not. I want to see the businesses grow here in Troy, but I asked specifically for businesses to give me their specific business as to how it would impact your specific business individually, not ideologically, but your specific business. And very little feedback I could get other than maybe a college or something that thought the students might use the transportation. There's very, very little in the way of business that's tangible that you can attach a value to the transit center. It may be a nice to have, but there are so many unknowns regarding the transit. Another thing, this line from Pontiac to Detroit, we talk about high-speed rail. Forget it. This is not a high-speed rail. This is going to be a freight line that we're going to chug along on, and we'll catch a train. You can catch it in Detroit. You can take the bus to Detroit, whatever. So this is not a do-or-die situation for Troy. It's certainly a nice to have. Now, I agree. It's certainly a nice to have, and I would like to have it. But it's not a do or die for the business, the way we're positioning this thing. And there has to be a limit as to what we'll spend, and I've reached that limit. And I'm sorry, but I've compromised here and tried to come with something I thought was reasonable based on the conversations I've had with people in the industry. And back at 7.5, I'm not going to support that, so this will fail. I've stretched for $6 million, but that's not going to work.
Mayor.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Would you support, and this is not at all where I wanted to be, but would you support the consultants going out and doing this on their own dime and bringing something back to us that's bare bones? I'm kind of getting the impression that it's not going to change a vote anyway, and if that's the case, I would really just like to know that now, so I don't even put that out there. But if there really is a chance that you're willing to compromise and they've offered to go out on their own dime and come back to us with something that's bare bones that will still satisfy what the federal government is asking, would you consider it?
It would have to be, and we don't know that tonight, it would have to be $6 million or less, bare bones, not to exceed. That would be it. And maybe they can.
Mayor.
Councilman Henderson?
The whole idea of moving people around the Metro Detroit area is a great idea, and at a much less cost than $4 a gallon. The problem is they've been talking about this since I was a teenager, and there is no infrastructure downtown to facilitate people getting around. For me to go, I would love to go see a Tiger game or a Red Wings game on light rail to the tune of $5, have an adult beverage and get home and enjoy myself, not having to worry about any of the ancillary issues, parking and tickets and all that other garbage. That said, this transit center was supposed to be part of that bigger project. And the bigger project being trying to get people around the Detroit metro area at a low cost and quickly. Now, we find that the Woodward Avenue project was scrapped. Now they're talking about high-speed buses. And going to Chicago, I'd love to go there myself. My daughter lives in Chicago. It would be great to jump on a train right there in Troy and have a 5-hour trip for 60, 70 bucks and go visit her over Christmas. I would love to do that. But as Mr. Fleming, Councilman Fleming suggested, this is not, a high-speed rail is not coming out of Troy. It's going to make several stops on the way to get to Dearborn, and Dearborn is the jump-off point for high-speed rail. If you get on that high-speed rail to Dearborn, it takes a long time for a train to get up to 110 miles an hour. You're not going to get to Chicago at breakneck speed like they do in China or other places that I've heard the Chamber of Commerce tout that, they'd love to see this elaborate system. So what you see overseas is just not probable in the near future in Michigan, and let alone Metro Detroit. So I also found it interesting tonight as the Chamber was speaking that they told us how the transit center was an integral part to all those areas with light rail system, but now that it's not light rail, it's high-speed buses, that's even better. I'm just, that's such a moving target. How are we supposed to believe any of the reports as they change? No, this is the way it should be. None of it is believable to me. And to that end, I'll vote no on this.
Can we have a vote, Mrs. Bittner, on the resolution? I'm of the opinion that we're voting on the approval of the MDOT subcontract for the final design.
This would be a vote on the amendment for $7.5 million.
Okay, vote on the amendment for the $7.5 million cap.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
No.
Mayor Daniels?
No.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
No.
Councilmember Henderson?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Motion fails.
Now you would need a vote on I-6A as it is.
I-6A is the approval of the MDOT subcontract for the final design of the Troy modal.
Correct.
Multimodal transit facility. Vote please, Mrs. Bittner.
Councilmember Henderson?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
No.
Mayor Daniels?
No.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
No.
Motion fails. We'll move on to the next issue. We're going to return now to public comments.
No, we'll just go to regular.
We have to go back to the public comments for the people that didn't get a chance to speak, because we put this in front of it. Yeah.
Disappointed me.
I will wait till the chamber's clear.
Disappointedly.
We have Linda Kaima, Duane Somerville, Joe Thielman, Donald. Okay.
I'm the second of the name you called.
Linda Klima.
I don't believe she's here.
It looks like she is not here, so you're first. Just a moment, please. Let me call the other people if they're still here. Joe Thielman, Donald Frazier, Sybil Kickham. Those are the only other people that are on the agenda that wanted to speak.
I'm Duane Sonneville, 4311 Hickory Court, Orchard Lake, Michigan. My daughter, Kirsten Sonneville Douglas, 3131 Kilmer, is unable to be here this evening, and she asked if I would read her letter for public record. The mayor and the city council members have all received a copy this past week. I too agree that any word for gay used in a pejorative manner has no place in public discourse. One of the excuses for such verbiage is that it appears in the dictionary. But so too do a lot of other racial and ethnic epithets, words I would also hope not to be uttered by a public official. And yes, the posting on Facebook was this past June before Ms. Daniels became mayor, but sadly, bigotry and narrow-mindedness aren't cured on Election Day. I have no personal agenda on this issue. Neither does my daughter, for that matter. But we both realize that hate has no place in a civilized society. Therefore, I am pleased to stand here and read this on her behalf. It's dated December 9th, 2011. Dear Ms. Daniels, I am writing you today in regard to your Facebook posting. I respect one's First Amendment right to the freedom of speech, but with such a right comes great responsibility. One must be prepared to defend his or her position and take responsibility for those actions and not make excuses. I believe you when you say you regret posting the comment, but that only comes after someone made you aware, and this is unacceptable. You posted your bigoted comment in a public forum for the world to see, and then had the audacity to say that you are the victim. There were no subpoenas for text messages or information received based on the Freedom of Information Act. You posted it. Stop making excuses and take responsibility. I believe that no public officials should espouse such hateful, bigoted beliefs in a public forum. Your position compels you to represent the interests of your constituents, and you cannot do so if you openly discriminate against any of them. The people of Troy, Michigan deserve a mayor who is respectful of all its citizens, regardless of their race, ethnicity, religion, class, age, physical disability, gender, or sexual orientation. Your definition of marriage may be different than mine. That's fine. That's not the issue. What makes Troy such a great city is the diversity of the citizens and their ideologies. We teach our children to embrace differences, and as a public official, you should set the example. We have a zero-tolerance rules in our schools and in the workplace. Why is our government not held to that same standard? Contact any human resource department, and they will tell you that bigoted comments like yours would have had you fired immediately. Your actions have shown that you're unfit for office, so I urge you to resign. While nothing can undo your hateful words, your resignation will send the message to everyone, especially those citizens you have failed, that bigotry has no place in Troy, Michigan, or anywhere else in the world. And in closing, she quotes Martin Niemöller. First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out, for I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. and then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Sincerely, Kirsten Sonneville, Troy, Michigan.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Mr. Kaluza? And, Ellen Cooper, you were signed up. Thank you. Eileen Cooper?
Yeah, I had stepped out for just a couple of moments before, but I wasn't going to speak on the Transit Center anyway, so I was surprised when my name didn't come up since I signed up. My name is Eileen Cooper, and I've been a longtime resident of Troy. I've come here tonight to stand in support of our new mayor, Janice Daniels, who made a mistake which hurt many people. She also apologized for that mistake, but more than that, she asked for forgiveness. I try to keep up with local news and current events as much as possible, and maybe I missed it, but up to now, I've not heard anyone among those she referenced accepting her apology or offering forgiveness. How many among us have never said words that hurt someone? Surely all of us have done so at one time or another. Usually, when you apologize, amends are made and all is well. But sometimes the offended person scoffs and walks away, or worse. Do you remember how you felt? Did you deserve that kind of response? At the last council meeting, Mayor Daniels took several hours of extreme criticism. I only heard about half of those public comments, so if any of those offended accepted her apology, I missed it, and I commend you, Ms. Daniels, for the respect you showed to everyone who spoke. At least the ones I saw, you showed only respect for them. No one's rights have been trampled here. Mayor Daniels worked very hard to gain the confidence and the vote of the voting citizens of Troy and deserves a chance to carry out her duties. It is past time for everyone to give her the benefit of the doubt and allow her to do just that. And if you don't like it at the end of her term, then exercise your right to vote and vote her out.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wanted to speak? Oh, Mr. Savage. Oh, and Chris, I'm sorry. Mr. Savage, I had actually called on Chris, but, okay, come on up, come on up.
Yeah, I did sign up, but I don't know whether my name was
You were out of the room when I called your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, good evening, or is it still evening? I suppose it is. Mayor and members of council. You know, I really feel sorry for you lot, and I certainly feel sorry for Mr. Henderson to have to sit so long. I can't sit that long. Anyhow, during the past 2 years, I have watched these council meetings degenerate into a spectacle resembling a sporting event or Congress where individuals are either on one side or the other. If you're not for me, you must be against me attitude. This is the way this city seems to be going. You choose section on one side, wherever. And I stated to the previous council, and I'm going to repeat, the opinions that I express here are my own, and whether it be fate or coincidence, these opinions usually are in line with most of Troy voters. I do not belong to Trust, TCU, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the Tea Party, the Let's Have a Party, or any other party. I supported and voted for Robin Beltramini for mayor. I had hoped that given enough time, I could convince her to oppose the transit center. I didn't realize that this council would be starting out with a gun to your heads. Troy has for many years been a politically divided community, not because we are so much different from one another, because we have been faced with so many diversive issues. And this has been going on for many years, and the 12 years that I've been continually attending these meetings, there has been divisive issues from people who live next door to us, even families that have been divided over the issues that we really didn't need. And I now doubt, okay, I'm losing myself here. I thought Baltimore would be best able to unite us. I now doubt that anything or anyone will be able to do that. We have become a polarized society. And it doesn't help when we see council members personally attacking each other. For a council member to publicly ask for another council member's resignation over a personal matter that has never been brought to the table for discussion is unprofessional and inexcusable. Although I did not vote for Ms. Daniels, on November the 8th, she was democratically elected mayor of this city. You are all here. You, the council members, are all here because you were the choice of the majority of Troy voters. And though I did not vote for all of you, I will respect you. And I will try to judge you by how you deal with the issues facing this city, not by who you are or what side you are on. For people who cannot accept the results of the election, there is a recall procedure, which I would not endorse, where, once again, the voters of Troy will have the final word. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Savage. Chris?
Hello, everyone. Christopher Kalesha, 6569 Glendale. I have nothing prepared because I came into town just today, so I've only been back in town for a couple of hours. So first I'd like to start off by saying congratulations to all the new members of council. I was not here for the election. I did vote absentee, so it's good to see all of you here, and good luck. One thing I would like to say about the transit center really quickly. There have been, and unfortunately I don't have anything prepared, so I don't have the documents to show you or the articles to show you, but there are a number of works in academia that do look at train systems and their effects on local areas. And I have heard both sides, and I think that there's a little bit of a confusion about the causal relationship between economic growth and train systems. The research that has been conducted seems to be more or less on the side that when you put a train system in, it is vital that you already have the infrastructure to support that, and that it is a large enough city so that it is in enough use. That's kind of obvious. But only at that point will the train system actually give any sort of economic boom to a local area. And just in my opinion, from what I've seen, we don't have that in the city quite yet. And I was glad to see the vote that occurred tonight, simply because of the fact I don't think we are there quite yet to be able to support a system like the transit center that was being proposed. So that's what I was saying before about the causal relationship being the wrong way. You need to have the economics first, and then you can have the train system that will then increase your business in the area. The other thing that I would like to say, even though I haven't been in the city, I have been away at West Lafayette, Indiana. I have not been completely insulated from a lot of the rhetoric that has been going on over the past couple months, and I just have to say it is really disheartening to hear a lot of it. And I do believe in forgiveness on both sides. And I would just suggest that both sides just take a step back, try to unite the city. We don't have to be constantly at each other's throats. I don't think we are that kind of a city, or we don't need to be that kind of a city. And to forgive each other, because I think it'll go a long way into building the city into a much more vibrant community in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
My name is Andrea Miller. I have lived here my whole life, which is 21 years. Not a very long time, but long enough to establish a sense of pride in where I live. I've always been proud of going to Troy. I went to Troy High. I was Leonard Leopard, Blue Ribbon School. And I go to Michigan State now. I'm about to graduate. And I was surprised a while ago, some of my friends came to me that aren't even from Troy and told me about the remarks that you made on your Facebook page, and that's when I first got invested. I wasn't at the last meeting, but I watched it all on the internet, live. That was fun. For me, I totally believe in forgiveness, and I believe in forgiving people who show remorse. And I listened to your forgiveness, your asking for forgiveness, and I didn't see any legitimate remorse from you. You kept on making it about one man, one woman marriage when that wasn't what the debate was about in the first place. It was about your use of a hurtful word as a mayor of Troy, as representing all of us. I would just like to say thank you for teaching me the importance of voting, because if I had voted, if more people my age had voted, maybe you could have thrown out your tote bag in peace without representing 80,000 of us. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, come forward.
I don't really like to do public speaking, so I held off until the last person came up to speak. We have a divided country. We don't have a city that has issues like this only. We have a country that has these kinds of issues. When people think the news media can decide on how we frame the debate by choosing words that are acceptable and not acceptable, I don't buy it. I'm a free citizen. I can speak equally free as someone else in the country. So I worked for a bank several years back, and they had a Create Detroit meeting, they called it, for the future of Detroit. And they were talking about artisans and how we could become a creative city and what have you. And while I was at the event, it was a day-long event, my company sponsored for me to go there. The entire event became a homosexual rally. Every person that spoke at the microphone was talking about how Detroit and Metro Detroit can only become creative if we embrace the homosexual community. And they went even so far to say that we have to go after ministers who stood up and publicly made statements about resenting the fact that the homosexual community chose the civil rights movement to piggyback on. These are black ministers who said, we resent you doing that, because they believe it's a moral choice. It's a lifestyle choice. And they have every right to speak that in public in our culture. The idea that we have to be silent because people with the microphone and with the news media backing them have their support and can define the debate and what words are usable and not usable. I got called when I went back to the bank I worked for that sent me there. And my manager asked me what I thought about the event I went to. And I said it turned into a homosexual rally, and I was very insulted by that. I'm a creative person, and I don't think I have to embrace that lifestyle to be considered a creative person. So when I said that, she said to me, you sound like you're homophobic. Now there's a word, a hot word for you, that the news media says is acceptable in our culture. I don't agree with that. I don't like being labeled as someone with an ailment or illness or some defect because I don't agree with that lifestyle. So if we're going to talk about words that are usable and not usable, if we're going to have people come to the city of Troy to make a public statement, a lifestyle statement or an ideological statement, then I have a right to, and so does everybody else, and there's many people in this country that do not believe in that lifestyle. They have every right to speak that out publicly without being lambasted as haters. Now, what I think I saw happen with you, and I may be wrong, but you can correct me, when I heard you apologize for using that word, you were being distinct about the word the way you were using it in your conversation. But there are people that want you to also say that you don't agree with, that you don't have the opinion that you hold. You have a right to hold your opinion, that it's a wrong lifestyle, you don't agree with it. You have a worldview that says that's wrong, that people can make the choice if they want to or not. So I applaud you for holding your ground on your right to have that opinion. I'm really even questioning if the choice of word, I've heard homosexuals use the word queer about themselves and other people in the homosexual community. So I don't like the news media defining what's an acceptable word, and it's the news media that's really doing it. They get people all ratcheted up to come and make a big statement about something. And it offends me because I was called at my place of work a homophobic because I didn't agree that Detroit could only become creative if we embrace the homosexual lifestyle. Now, we have a bigger issue going on in this country, and that's one of free speech and ideas being exchanged without being labeled haters and what have you. So I want to make a point. I wasn't going to do this. I don't like doing this, but when I was home when I heard the parade of people making their political statements here against you. You did ask for forgiveness. You were specific about using a word. You don't have to apologize for having a worldview that considers that behavior to be wrong. And there are a lot of people in this country that agree with you. The media may not cover that. You have to go on the internet to find most of that information, but it exists. So I just wanted to say my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
Thank you. Gordon, you want to speak?
Yeah, I signed up, but I might have gone up.
Come on up.
I think you already spoke.
You spoke on the transit issue. I think he has an opportunity to speak on another issue if he wishes. Attorney Bloom, rules of procedure?
Well, when you waived the rules, it was clear that it was for discussion of the transit center issue. So perhaps if he could limit his comment, but I do believe that it was specific to transit center.
Okay.
This isn't about the transit center.
This isn't about the transit center. It really bothers me when elected officials are tried to be bullied into resignation over some trumped up hurt feelings or something. Now, we have duly elected people up here. Each and every one of you has been elected by the taxpayers in the city of Troy to represent them as temporary representatives. And it really bothers me the way our mayor's been bullied. When we had the group here the other day, people are running in the back. Well, she wouldn't resign because of ethics, and because of the wouldn't swear to the charter. No, she won't resign. We got to find some way. We got to find some way. You are elected officials of this city, and you have a right to represent the people that put you in that office. And if they don't like you in that office, then they'll vote you out. But I think the mayor's been treated shabbily, what really made me mad was a councilman sitting up here on the thing saying that the residents' input is a bunch of crap. That I take really offense to. So there's a lot of things that have to be straightened around in this city, and not just pointing the finger at one person. We're all down here to learn, and we have to treat each other with more respect. And respect will make this city united, and respect will go a long way into making Troy a great city. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, come on up. Everybody line up. Mr. Griggs?
Really briefly, Jim Griggs, Coral Drive, Troy, Michigan, 32-year resident. I think we should take a page from Rochester Hills. In their council meetings, the only people that can address the council are residents of the city with valid ID. I think that's the way we should do it. These late-night meetings are costing us a lot of money and a lot of staff time. If the people that are not residents feel strongly on an issue, they can send a letter to any one of the councilmen or all the councilmen or to the city manager. But I think that what we ought to do is, like Rochester Hills, avoid these marathon things. The decisions you make, it's only the people of Troy that will pay for it. Either they'll pay for the rail center, or they'll pay for the library, or the hiring more policemen. I think that that's only fair. The citizens that pay everybody's salary, that paid for the building, they should have a say. The other people can write their letters in, and you can read them at your will. But I think that's the way you ought to do it, just like Rochester Hills. Be more progressive, cost less.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Edna Abraham. I live at 4822 Foxcroft, and I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I can't help myself. I have to express my feelings. But first, I would like to wish Mr. Henderson a speedy recovery, and I hope you return to good health very soon. Mr. Savage said something about respect, and respect for the position of the mayor, respect for council, and I would even go so far as to say respect for city staff, that are here tonight. And respect is a two-way street. And, you know, it's probably no surprise I didn't vote for you, but I do respect the position you're in. And I would expect you to respect me as a citizen. But what I heard tonight is that my voice doesn't really count because I didn't vote for you. And I think that's extremely disrespectful. And I hope that's a misunderstanding on my part. But when I hear I'm going to respect the wishes of people that voted for me, that does trouble me greatly. The other thing I'd like to comment on, of course, is my extreme disappointment with how the Transit Center vote went down today. We turned down $8.5 million worth of investment in the city of Troy. $8.5 million. What is the council going to do to bring $8.5 million worth of investment to the city of Troy? I would like to see a plan for that. I'd like to see ideas, and I hope I would see it soon, because it took 10 years for that transit center plan to be developed, to just go down with one vote. So I hope we can turn something around and get $8.5 million into this city, because there are so many commercial and industrial properties that are vacant, and that transit center could have done a lot to bring businesses back into the community, to have them paying more taxes so that the residents are paying less. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clark?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I would like to wish everyone here a very Merry Christmas and a blessed Hanukkah season. I'm Glenn Clark. I'm a resident of Troy. I'm a citizen activist. I live on Milverton Drive. I'm also the president of the Michigan Faith and Freedom Coalition. And during this recent chapter in Troy's history, our organization organized and promoted a Home for the Holidays Shop Troy campaign in response to some, I would consider, ugly moves by individuals and groups in our city, and mostly from outside of our city, to impact negatively Troy retailers. And so we launched a number of different functions, namely a meetup at Somerset Collection this Saturday and last Saturday, which was highly successful. And I'm here to report that if you read the local newspaper articles, Troy retailers are doing very fine, and that's excellent. This is a special time of the year. It doesn't matter what holiday you celebrate or observe, Christmas or Hanukkah or another one. It's a special time of year where people should be coming together. And as I've been speaking to reporters and citizens across our city, at the end of the day, those who might be hurt by some sort of economic boycott of Troy would be at the bottom of the economic ladder. I used to work in retail. My first job was at Sears, and I know those days. And if anyone's going to get knocked off the payroll, it's going to be the guy who's part-time or the underfunded employee who can't afford much. So we're proud to have promoted Troy businesses during this period of time, and I think that's really important for us to all come together, no matter what your perspective is on anything related to city politics or anything regarding any of our elected officials. So once again, we hope you join Michigan Faith and Freedom Coalition and work together to promote our Shop Troy effort between now and the end of the year. Pick a local retailer. We're picking one retailer or restaurant per day and encouraging people to visit that place and support that local business. On to other matters. I know tonight you're going to be reviewing the ethics policy that I believe that Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis brought forward at the last meeting. And I reviewed this, and there's a couple areas that, you know, if I wrote it, I would have written it differently. But one in particular is this area regarding rendering, it's about halfway down, the issue that says, the line says, render all decisions based on the available facts and independent judgment rather than succumbing to the influence of individuals or special interest groups. I, for one, as a resident, a longtime resident of Troy, find this offensive. And what do I mean by that? Well, normally the city management brings facts and figures to the council table, and that's fine. Citizens or groups can do the same. But generally speaking, it originates at the council, the manager's office. And I think that this is redundant to say that we have to use independent judgment as public officials officials. You all are our public officials representing us. But succumbing to the influence of citizens, is this a brave new world where we're actually saying that we can't expect the city council members representing this city to listen to the citizens of Troy? Influence is one thing. An opinion being shared by your constituents on important matters like the transit center or the tax level of the city are areas that are not brought to you for you to be influenced by these individuals, but rather citizens to share their opinion, and then you weigh that idea. And I would also say special interest groups. What is a special interest group? Is the Troy Chamber of Commerce that came before you tonight a special interest group, or is it just a taxpayer association that has an opinion regarding a particular measure before your council table? So I would say that I'm uncomfortable, especially the area where it says influence of individuals, because I am an individual in this city, and I do employ the management with my tax dollars and city staff, and I believe that as residents and citizens here in Troy, that we really are the stakeholders, the shareholders, and also we are the owners, so to speak, of the city, and we would expect that our elected officials would listen to our opinion before they cast any vote, and to cast a gray cloud over any citizen's opinion being shared and transferred to elected officials is unwise, in my opinion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. It looks like we've concluded public comments, so we can now move on to postponed items. We have a motion to revoke the industrial facilities exemption certificate for Forcia Automotive Seating. Would someone like to move the proposed resolution? Councilman Fleming?
Madam Mayor, I'll move the resolution, and I'll read just part of it here, just so the people watching can understand. This resolution is to revoke an industrial facilities exemption certificate, IFEC, and vacate an industrial development district, IDD, previously granted and established for Forcia Automotive Seating at 2350 Meyer, postponed from November the 21st, 2011. And the reason we're doing that is because they've not met their obligation to install personal property that we had abated to a certain dollar amount. And I believe I saw in the package where we received a letter from their management stating that, yes, they concur they had not met their obligation. So I would move the resolution that City Council hereby directs the City Clerk to forward by certified mail a copy of this resolution to the State Tax Commission, STC, Treasury Building, P.O. Box 30471, Lansing, Michigan, and to Forcia